sometimes on the actual piece, Charlie, you'll see stamped 18K or 10K or whatever. That's the clue that you have as the uninitiated civilian, that you may have an idea what carat this gold thing is, but not all pieces even have that stamp, do they?
That's precisely right. They don't all have the stamp. The stamp is, if it's there, you can probably trust it.
Right.
The problem is, even if it was there, it's often rubbed off, or it's so small that you can't really see. We have a little jeweler's loop that kind of everyone in the business uses to find those stamps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's obviously not the only thing we go with for our testing either.
Right.
That's the first step, and that's the best thing for people. If someone asks us, what do I expect when I come in? That's probably the best first step to check their stamps and know maybe what they're expecting. We have all our prices posted online.
Okay.
By the prices break down by carat. So the more pure your gold is, or the higher carat, the more you're going to get per gram.
Well, it's interesting because I want you to come back, Charlie, and talk to us about this refinery thing, because I have a feeling this is all part of testing. And I got to tell you, when I think about taking something to be evaluated for the purposes of perhaps my selling it, all I think of is some little old guy in the back of a store who puts that big thing in one eye and then looks it over and says, "Oh, I'll give you $50." And I have a feeling that's kind of 1930s Hollywood that I'm seeing more than anything else, and that 2013 testing methods are pretty darn sophisticated. You mentioned when you were getting your company started a few years ago, you were talking about a refinery. Where do refineries come into the whole process of buying and selling gold?
Basically, that's the last step. So once you get the load together and get it, you get it refined, and that's the process
melted down?
That's the process of melting it down and
okay.
kind of getting it recycled back into the whole system, I guess. So
okay.
that gets turned into the bars mostly, probably about half bars, half jewelry, based on the numbers of what's being sold these days.
An interesting statistic I read recently. Even if you buy brand new gold, it's going to be 40% of the supply of gold actually comes from refineries, from recycling.
Interesting.
And whether you know it or not, I mean that's where gold comes from. I mean, gold mining represents a good chunk of it, but 40% is actually from recycling.
Yeah, 40% of the quote new gold,
right.
The stuff you're buying as, assuming you're adding to that like mining demand, you're also adding to the recycling as well. It's gold's never spent, basically. You don't, like oil, you don't consume gold.
Right.
So all the gold that's ever been mined is out there somewhere. A lot of it's stored in, jewelry, and some in electronics, but investment's the other big one.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you were talking, Greg, earlier about, we were talking about the fact that some people's gold bears a little stamp that gives a clue as to what the carat might be. Is it advisable, if I'm going to go and offer some of my stuff for sale, that I separate it by what I think the carat grouping may be? Or are you people just so set up that it doesn't matter what condition in terms of I got a little pile of 10 carat, a little pile of 18 carat? Is that necessary or helpful, or just a waste of time on the part of someone who might want to come into the store?
It's not necessary, but I would recommend it. If you're going to be shopping around, if you're going to be doing, if you want to know that you're getting the fair value for your gold, it is important to separate it, because, through our experiences, there are some gold buyers that don't separate it, and obviously the separating it out into different carats is what is going to get you the most value for it, because 10 carat gold is only 41% pure,
right?
Whereas 18 karat gold is 75% pure. So if you go into a pawn shop or somewhere that they're just grouping it all together and paying you out based on the weight of everything,
then you're probably going to get the lowest possible price.
Yeah, exactly. So
is pure gold 24, by the way? Just a reference.
Yep.
Yeah,
24
exactly.
Carat?
That's the definition of a carat is parts per 24.
And you have a little testing machine. Greg was telling me this before we did the show, Charlie, that you have a testing machine that allows you, when a person comes into one of the Vancouver gold stores, to determine not only what percentage of this ring or piece of jewelry is gold, but it'll also tell you, and it's got 13% silver and 14% copper, and it actually breaks down the complete spectrum of metals in any given object.
That's exactly right. We've got the most recent and sophisticated of the machines we use to test gold. It's called the we call it the X-ray machine. It's an X-ray fluorescence spectrometer. So you feed the little piece in there. It takes a laser, shines down on it, and it closes the lid because it's an X-ray. And then in 15-20 seconds we get a whole kind of readout of what's in that sample.
Kind of like a CSI machine for gold guys, right?
Exactly.
That's
It's
fascinating
great,
stuff. Yeah, really. So, but in terms of bringing one's gold into a store, do you share this information? For example, the thing that always struck me about putting my heirlooms into an envelope and sending them off to some mysterious destination and hopefully getting a check sooner or later is that there would be no exchange of information. When you put this machine on a piece of jewelry that I bring to your store, do you tell me it's 82% gold or it's 9% gold and you've been taken to the cleaners? Do you share that information with the client on the spot?
Yeah, absolutely. We think that transparency is one of the most important things we do.
Good for you. I would hope so. You just brought it up, and I was going to ask you about this, and thank you for opening the door. What's the difference between white gold and, I guess, yellow gold, for lack of a better way of describing it? What's the difference between the two?
Yeah, the main difference is the alloy it's mixed with. So that's the gold you're buying as jewelry is almost never pure gold. If you get 24 karat gold, it's always yellow. It's the same color always. But when you have 10 karat gold, as Greg mentioned earlier, 41% of that is gold, and 58%, 59% say, is other metals.
Okay.
So if you mix more silver in there, you're going to get a more white gold color. So that's the main difference. What else is in there? 10 karat yellow gold, 10 karat white gold, to us, has the same amount of gold in it.
Right.
So it's worth the same amount. Might have a little more silver. The other, they sometimes will plate yellow gold to make it a pure white. And that's kind of a different situation. You'd still probably call that white gold, but that's the other. It's either a different alloy, a different mix of metals, or just a coating to make it white.
But pure gold is generally yellow.
Pure gold, yeah. The color of gold is that yellow gold color.
Right. Okay. So that, but okay. But I'm curious about that because white gold is certainly popular as a jewelry setting metal, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It kind of goes through cycles. White gold is really popular right now.
Right.
A lot of the old stuff, we do see mostly yellow gold because we're seeing a lot of stuff from the 70s and the really old stuff, but we do see it all and we do buy it all, and it's all totally acceptable for us.